Welcome to Slow and Steady, the podcast where you get to follow along as we build products in public. Each week, we'll give you an honest peek into our lives as we share our struggles, our wins, and everything in between. I'm Benedict, and I'm feeling a little bit annoyed.
And I'm Benedicte. Today is December 14th. This is episode number 163, and I'm feeling excited.
Woohoo! At least one of us is in a good mood.
So much better than last week. Oh my God, I was the most complaining person ever last week.
Yes, that's fine.
Turns out I am old, so that probably has something to do with the energy, but also we were sick. So I didn't realize I'm having a hard time realizing if I'm actually just unmotivated and like struggling with the energy like in a mental way, or if I'm actually like physically ill until I couldn't wake, like in the morning, I almost couldn't open my eyes with like a bad headache and then a cough. And then Ola got sick and then Lillian got sick. And I was like, obviously, we're all just sick.
Yeah.
So in a way that felt good because then I was like, oh, because I was trying to figure like, why am I so, exhausted? And then it's like, oh, there's a physical reason. Well, great. I don't have to go to the no, I don't have to go to the shrink this time around. But anyway, so that put everything a little bit on halt though, because we haven't done anything last week. So the plan was to launch Prune Your Follows last week, but then because of other things as well, it got pushed back until this week, and that was perfect because we were not gonna be able to pull through and do the work.
Yeah.
So I am pulling through now because it's less than 24. I guess it's like 12 hours now. No, I don't know how many hours until the launch. So only got a tiny bit of work to do before then.
Nice.
But
so basically, if you're early and listening when this comes out, it's probably on Product Hunt right now, right?
Yes. If we are lucky since because of illnesses, we are recording a day late, so we'll see how fast of a turnaround this episode gets. But it's going live on Product Hunt on Thursday, the 15th of December.
Nice.
Yes. Vote, comment, share.
Do all the things.
Do all the things. But I must say though, and I know, like I don't know, this crunch time is fun time. I don't know. I just wrote that because I just really enjoy it when I have more of a time constraint. It's something about that is like a true deadline. Things just crystallize, like a lot of the decisions, tech decisions or like solution decisions. It's just like, well, I'll do it this way. And it's like, it's good enough. It's not like I want to ship bad stuff either, but it just like puts that extra bit of pressure on. And like my mind just goes into this like Zen mode where like everything flows, and it's so much more fun than sometimes when I have a lot of time and I'm like, well, maybe this way or that way, or maybe I should talk to some more users, or and now it's just like, get it done, get it out, and move on to the next thing. So but I don't want to burn out either, so I have a really hard time between like, how do you get that in like everyday life without like it becoming,
I guess you don't. that's the trick. I feel like you can only do this every so often. I'm not entirely sure what the like ideal frequency is or the ideal cadence is, but I feel like if you organize every single week like this, you're going to burn out.
Yes, definitely. So I need to get a good cadence on deadlines, true deadlines. To give me that an extra bit of like, and not just to get things done and to give me, but it's just such a nice feeling. Like it's that flow feeling that, most of us are chasing, that just feeling of things like moving forward and you're making decisions and like there might be problems along the way, but I don't know, it's a good feeling. And I like that feeling. And I think that is partly why I keep procrastinating on stuff, because I actually enjoy this feeling. But then again, as you said, if you do this too much, that's not a good thing. So hit me with your best advice, dear listener, if you feel the same and have found a way to work with / around it.
I guess like the shape up concept of Basecamp's shape up process, I feel like is kind of based around that with the cycle time. And I mean, in a way, maybe even like sprints from agile software development. I feel like it's kind of that, but it all depends on your cycle time or your sprint time, right? If you have like 1 week sprints, that's going to burn you out. But maybe 6 week cycles is a lot easier and a lot more manageable.
Yeah, because the shape up thing is that like as you're closing in on the 6 weeks, you're kind of cutting features or scoping down, right? So that you ship something after those 6 weeks, but you might take some of those decisions that I enjoy taking now because it's like crunch time. So you're like cutting that, leaving out that, doing, and just like making those decisions so that you get to ship something at the end of the 6 weeks. Maybe I should do my own little 6-week sprints. 6 weeks sounds like a good.
Yeah, or like 4 weeks. Like, I mean, anything basically, as long as you.
Anything longer than like sprint weeks, because I remember way back when I was in projects like that. And we were like in the early days, we didn't even know what to make. And it was like, we're shipping every Wednesday. And we were like, but what are we making? Like, this is just feels.
I remember when we were doing in the startup I was working at, when we were doing like Scrum almost to the book. We started out with 1 week sprints. And at some point we realized that we were spending more times in like meetings, like sprint planning, sprint review, retrospective, and whatnot, that we didn't have any time to actually ship something because we were constantly in a meeting planning stuff or like reviewing stuff and things like that. So at some point, I think we decided to do like 2 week sprints, because then at least you have a couple of days to actually ship stuff or actually build stuff. And then these days we don't do any of that with userless. So,
Meh. Well, maybe that was all invented by the consultancy industry, because I mean, the more you meet, the more you can bill, right? The more hours you can bill.
I feel like I still like the concepts, but I think they all depend a little bit on what exactly your team looks like, what exactly your day-to-day looks like. Because I feel like a lot of the process around this doesn't really work for me and doesn't really work for us at the current size of the company, because this works great if you have a somewhat isolated team with where like tasks don't change on a daily basis or even like a couple of times a day, just because something is on fire. Like if you're kind of in a stable environment, I feel like the concepts work very well or kind of good. But yeah, if you can't have like some certainty, at least in 2 week iterations or whatever, this isn't really the thing that's going to make you happy.
No, but then again, my mom, when she was a CTO, like she often landed on more of a Kanban approach, where it's not so much about kind of the sprint time, but it's more about limiting tasks that are in process and focusing on time through the whole process, and having like every developer stop their work and like help somebody if a task or an issue or whatever we want to call it is stuck. So it's like stuck there, like then everybody has a little bit of a spike or whatever you want to call it, where they work on this thing to move it along, so you don't end up having things that are just like sitting there half done. But still, it doesn't say like you have to release it within 2 weeks, or you have to release it within, or you don't have to release it together with somebody else. You work it to the end, and then you release it, and then you try to improve the process so things move through the process or the little lanes on the Kanban board faster. And she found that to be amazing. Like at all the companies she implemented it like really made things accelerate and also made people cooperate in a totally different way. Instead of being like, well, I'm working on my issue. Like my issue is moving along, like getting that ownership of all issues, getting through the whole process was always good. And then, well, this was before remote work, I guess, or before. She would also often do it analog in the beginning. So they would just do posters on the walls and just have it super visual.
Like one of the like best things you can do if you're like co-located in the same location, is like just having post-it notes on the walls, just to visualize the work in progress and what's currently going on and what things are stuck where and stuff like that. So I really love that. And you're right, like this is something you can't really replicate in a digital tool, because you have to open the digital tool to see it and actually work with it. Whereas that whiteboard or that even like the post-its on the wall, they're always there. You're always seeing them, and you see when someone walks up and moves something around, or when it doesn't happen. So yeah, you're right. That's something that's missing.
That is something that is missing. But why are you so annoyed?
Kind of relates to what we just talked about. I had plans for the week, but none of them actually. I was so far wasn't able to work on any of my plans for the week because I've been jumping between calls and jumping between small issues here and there that came up. Either stuff customers complained about, actual little bugs that they found or that we found ourselves. So I feel like instead of doing the work I was looking forward to, I'm doing all those like putting out all those little fires here and there. And none of them are like super critical, but like small annoyances where the UI was broken, or earlier today we fixed a bug where it was possible to save messages with like invalid liquid tags in them, and then when we tried to send the message, it wouldn't send because, of course, the liquid doesn't compile, and like small stuff like that. And I'm a little bit annoyed. I just want to get back to the work I was actually looking forward to do.
But I guess we have to realize that it's part of the work. Because I have this issue where I kind of categorize certain work as like not work, where it like kind of doesn't count. But it's like it needs to be done as well, and you have to spend time on those things as well. But it's like at the end of the day, I'm like, I haven't done anything today, and then you're like, again, my example is always accounting. Done like a ton of accounting stuff, and it's like if you don't do that, like it's gonna come and really bite you because it just needs to be done. But at the end of a day where I've focused on that kind of work, I just don't feel like I've done any work. So I'm trying to like reframe or like rephrase when I'm talking to myself about like what I've done and not done. It's like, well, I haven't done kind of any progress on my project, but I've done tasks that are necessary to be done. And then of course there's days when jump between Twitter, Slack, and your email and nothing gets done. Like when I was sick and I didn't realize I was sick, I was like just like jumping in a loop, and it's like then you haven't done any work. Like that's not work.
Yeah, like there are situations where you're actually not making any progress on anything, but that's not usually
on anything.
Why you're doing accounting, right?
Yeah, and then it's better like if you're jumping. That's what I'm trying to tell myself, and I managed to do it sometimes last week. Before I realized I was sick, actually the day before, I was like, okay, I'm sitting here, I'm just jumping through this loop of Slack, Twitter, and email, and I was like, this is just not happening. I just have to quit. Like I have to go do something else. Like it's better if I watch 3 Christmas rom-coms on Netflix than like pretending I'm working when I'm not working, right? Because it's not giving me, it's just giving me stress. So there was a lot of Christmas rom-coms last week in my life.
Well, yeah, I mean, at least you realized that and took the step back and actually got into rest mode a little bit, and not like pretending you're working while not actually working nor resting, I guess, right? So
yeah, that's the worst. That's the worst state to be in. But anything else that's keeping you annoyed, getting you annoyed?
Yeah, like today,
riling you up.
This is the thing that's really annoying me, because it could have been so nice. I didn't have a lot of calls and all of that, like, and then stuff happened, and now I'm already postponing the work I was looking forward to tomorrow. And actually, let's talk about that a little bit. I'm still working on the refactoring for the filter UI, and made some good progress last week. I feel like it's one of those refactorings where you start out with one thing that it's kind of broken, then come up with a couple of nice concepts to make a change easier. implement those, and then once that change is done, you realize actually that stuff you just built is actually too much and too complicated, and you roll most of it back and end up with that one change, but getting there was a lot harder, or took a lot more code that eventually got removed. So if you look to start from the starting point to the end, it's probably going to look like a small change, but getting there was a long way. So that's what's currently happening there. I'm still looking forward to finishing it because I feel like it's getting in a good shape, and that just gets me excited because I feel like this has been missing for a while, and getting it out there will be exciting. So hopefully nothing breaks tomorrow, and I can actually get that work done.
And nobody reschedules their podcast recording time, and
well,
nobody
we're recording right now, so that's good. That's out of the way.
That's out of the way.
Yeah, so that was the stuff I worked on last week, and then the other thing that happened last week, which kind of annoys me, is maybe a little bit too harsh, but because I was so deep into the refactoring last week, I made some bad judgment calls on a couple of small features that Leo, our front-end developer, was working on. And we had initially set out to basically had like 3 or 4 different tasks to work on, and created different pull requests for those and worked on them separately and on different branches. And we reviewed it together, kind of on a call, and like talking about the problems and the solutions, all of that, and that looked good. And then last week he asked me to do code reviews on all of them, and I did open up the pull request, did a decent code review, I'd say. But what I didn't do is like actually test everything, like pull it or like check out the preview branch or Netlify and stuff like that. So in the end, we merged all of them almost at the same time, like shortly after one another. And then we realized that, yes, they applied cleanly to the code, like merging was possible, that was easy, but it was still not compatible. Like they had like weird dependencies between each other that caused like weird issues. So last Thursday, we had a little bit of an emergency situation where we had to fix a couple of bugs that we hadn't anticipated. So
growing pains.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's a little bit related to, for one, I wasn't in the right mindset because I was preoccupied with other stuff, so I was kind of half-assing the reviews. I guess Leo was also just super excited to get all those projects merged and shipped, because I feel like we should probably have that, like, do them one by one in a more deliberate fashion, like applying one, then rebasing the others, testing the others again, then if all is good, applying another, and like being a little bit more careful with this. But we didn't, and we rushed it a little bit. And I guess some of the issues I'm working on today, or like fixing today, are still related to that. So it's, I don't know, it's nothing major broke, but we didn't ship stuff that was up to the standards we like to ship stuff in. So that stings a little. But at least we know why this happened, and that we have to be more careful about this in the future. So hopefully we will be, but then again, on the other hand, if you get too worried about shipping stuff, then you stop shipping stuff, which also isn't a good thing. So
yeah, and then it takes too long between shipping things, and then things break because you forgot how to ship things. So
yeah, exactly. Or you ship stuff that you built 3 months ago and totally forgot how it works and all of that. So
and that's why the Kanban thing, right? Getting one thing completely through the process, so you don't have to go back and like relearn everything you did. And then and that happens. Like I have some open source projects where I'm like, oh, now I have time, and I work on them, and then I have to do, paid work.
Yeah.
And then I come back to them and I'm almost like, what? Like this is gonna take almost as much time as it took to like code it, to like realize what I was doing and like picking this thing up again and like actually getting it through the door.
Yeah.
So I need to figure out some processes there to like at least like write down my notes while I'm at it so that it's easier to kind of pick it up. And
Yeah.
because I know that the nature of the open source projects will be like that. Like it will be something you do in between other things, and it might be weeks before you get to pick it up again. So knowing that, maybe more diligent and spend more time on that kind of documentation for future self than if I knew I'd have like a full week to work on it. But yeah, little note there. But I have a fun thing that's quite annoying because if you've listened all the way until now, I'm going to let you in on a little secret when it comes to Prune Your Follows. So the other day, I think it was Prune, we had Unfollow Friday on Friday, and people were reporting some problems. They weren't allowed to unfollow. And I didn't have logging in place because I was sick, so I didn't get to do the logging that we discussed on the last podcast. And then I was going to check something out because I was like, oh, if you unfollow, because we knew that if you unfollow more than 50 people in 15 minutes, then you would get rate limited by Twitter. And that would be even if you've like unfollowed 20 of those on Twitter and then you unfollow another 30 in Prune Your Follows, like that's 50 for a user. So we knew that. But then this guy was like, no, I haven't done that. And then I go in and I check the rate limit because I've been working from the rate limit that is documented on the endpoint. So when I go to the reference for the endpoint, it says 50 unfollows in 15 minutes per user. Then I was Googling something and I came into another page on Twitter's documentation, which was the rate limit documentation. And still it says 50, unfollows in 15 minutes. But then there's a little star. And then I scroll down until I find the little star. And it turns out that each app that is registered with Twitter is only allowed to do 500 successful unfollows in 24 hours.
Okay, that's
So
a
if the
problem.
product hunt goes really, really well and everybody starts unfollowing, then everybody's going to be rate limited. So, because I thought like we'll get around this with like if it's 50, 50 unfollows in 15 minutes, I was always going to make like a very nice kind of error message saying like you reach your limit, come back again on unfollow Friday, and maybe like sign up for a reminder for unfollow Friday so that you can come back and like do another cleanup. But yeah, so now this like rate limit UI needs to be a little bit nicer, and also it's a little vague, the messaging, but then also I want to collect people. It's a good way to collect people's emails though, because at this point I don't have their emails. So it will be like Twitter is being stupid. No, I'm not writing it like that, but give us your email and we'll notify you in a couple of days or like notify you so you come back and do your next batch. Because I've done like a little bit of calculation and it looks like people like right now at an average we have 98 users and then on an average they've done 30 unfollows each. So I think we could do pretty like in the future when we get background jobs, we could maybe schedule unfollows and then just like tide out the spikes and kind of like unfollow for people over a couple of days, because I don't think we're going to have like huge surges of people that like unfollow. But yeah, interesting little tidbit, everyone. So if you see the launch blow up because everybody's complaining, that's what happened, but we're just going to do it anyway.
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, and there's no way around that, right? I mean, you could like create 25 new apps on like 25 new client credentials and then spread it out that way. But I have a suspicion they won't like that either.
I have a suspicion that is a really good way to get blocked by Twitter, like permanently. Like I'll have all my developer credentials. No, so we'll work around it, and it will be, and this is a free app, so like if you really like, if it blows up tomorrow, it's going to be a fun story. I can write about it, can do stuff about it. Like we'll have fun, and then it. Like worst case, it can become like one of these, for developers where it's like, oh, you can fork it and then, make your own credentials and like have fun with it or whatever. But I do think like we could also do invite only where people get invited, because most people will do a big unfollow, I think, the first couple of days. And then after that, it's just going to be like a couple here and there. or like with background jobs, we could maybe, smooth out the spikes a little bit. But that will be interesting to see if, and depending on like, where we want to take it in the new year, or where Seda wants to take it in the new year. I guess it's the more correct question. But loads of people are interested. Loads of people are like suggesting features. So my hope for the new year is that I get to invite people onto the stream and like help me make their feature. Like somebody has suggested a feature, then they can come on and we'll like work on their feature. Like that could be fun. But you were gonna say something.
Yeah, I was wondering, instead of unfollow, like does that rate limit with 500 per 25 hours only apply to unfollows or something else as well?
Yeah. It's 500 unfollows in 24 hours, 1,000 follows in 24 hours. So they want you to follow, not unfollow. And then other than that, there are rate limits on all things, but like for importing, you're only allowed to do per user, you're only allowed to import their, like call them following endpoint, like who are you following? There's some rate limits on that, but not too bad. Like, I mean, I don't need the app to be up to date, like on the minute, as long as it's like, the people.
Yeah. I was wondering if the instead of unfollowing people, if you could like put them on lists, right? Instead of unfollowing, just categorize them for people and put them into a soon to be unfollowed list or something like that, and then they can go into their own Twitter account and unfollow until that list is empty or something like that.
There are many ways. And I see, interestingly, for me, it was like the need that I was hitting that 5,000 limit and I wasn't allowed to follow anymore. But with the naming Prune Your Follows, which I think a lot of people take as like cleanup, because pruning, and they're pruning your garden, you're kind of like cleaning up and making room for new things to grow. And I've been seeing more and more people just wanting to do different things to a larger set of accounts. So like muting accounts, like a lot of people you follow that maybe are friends and you want to mute them, but you don't want to unfollow them because you don't want to, like, they know that you unfollow them, but you want to like mute them. So, muting people and see who you muted. And then, as you say, like adding and removing people from lists, like that could be interesting. And also, what was there? Somebody said, retweet. You can turn off people's retweets. I didn't know that. But Michelle Hansen from the So Social podcast, she was like, I want to see who I've turned off retweets, and I want to be able to turn off retweets from the app. I, of course, shouldn't have because I don't really have time, but I did go look at the documentation and I don't think that's possible. But muted is possible. You can see who you've muted. So there are like a lot of people just want to like organize and like do some gardening, I guess, with their accounts more than like bulk unfollow, which also shows in that people have been unfollowing like 30 accounts on average. So not
Makes
like
sense,
a crazy amount. So yeah. So many, there's still opportunities for Prune Your Follows. But this is the fun of relying on somebody else's service.
Fun, yeah, depends on your definition of fun, I guess.
That is true. But it's still been an interesting project to make.
Yeah. It very much sounds like it is, and I mean the amount of interest from people is like I feel like a good measure of like you're actually onto something. Maybe not a paid product, but an interesting product or an interesting project to work on.
And especially since a lot of developers, I guess we talk to a lot of developers and have a lot of developer friends on the internet, and a lot of them are interested, but they don't really have the time to make it themselves. But I think they could be interested in, if not like doing any coding and contributing in that way, but contributing with kind of like, this is exactly how I want the UI to be. And, because you can get that stuff from other indie hackers and other developers where it's easier to implement the features they want because they can tell you exactly what they want. Sometimes, not always, but sometimes, instead of when you have more of a regular consumer product where people just like say the weirdest stuff, and you have to like figure out what they actually or how that looks like in a technical solution.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun one. I'm excited. And last but not least, I have a fireplace or a wood stove, and it's working, and I love it. And I've even cooked several meals on it.
That's nice. Very cool.
Yes. So happy.
How does it how does it work with like regulating temperature and stuff like that? Is it like while cooking? Is it a big problem, or is it just one temperature, super hot? And
so as an oven, there's like a pizza compartment on top, and then there's a regular baking oven underneath, and it's kind of basically how hard you're firing the wood.
Sure.
And I guess you just have to experiment. But it looks to me like when we've just been like, going about our day, it stays around like the main compartment stays around 180 to 200 degrees Celsius, which is basically what you need for most things. So yesterday I was like working hard, on Prune Your Follows, and then I realized, I haven't eaten. This happens more than it should. And then I just wanted to like reheat something, and often I end up just eating something cold because it's like, I then have to heat the oven and then blah, 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 and all that thing. But then I was like, ooh, I can just take this like fajita that I bought ready-made and like put it in my wood stove, which is already hot, and then like do some light cleaning or whatever, or tidying while it's going, and it's not taking me the same amount as if you have to wait for the oven. And I must say, I find it's really fun to like heat up like ready-made meals in my wood stove, because it feels like the clash of two worlds, like 1800s, coming together with millennial me, I guess, heating up my ready-made fajita in the wood stove. No, so that's, but we actually cooked like a proper meal with like, fish and veggies and everything from scratch the other day. And that worked really well as well. And then the stove top, we still have to learn, but there's like one above the wood chamber, which is like really hot. And then it's less hot on the other side, where it's like above the bake or the oven.
So basically shuffling stuff around as needed.
Yeah. And then obviously I started Googling, and then I realized there's like this off-grid wood stove YouTube rabbit hole you can go down, which I'm not allowed to do until Prune Your Follows is launched. But there seems to be like a lot of interesting things I could like research, and little gadgets that you can get. You can get like a magnetic temperature thing that you can like move around your wood stove to see the temperature in different parts. Or you could get like this like laser gun thing that like or like temperature gun thing that will like instantly read the different. So there are ample opportunities to buy gadgets here.
That's nice. The pizza compartment sounds great. I'm a little bit jealous about that, I guess.
Yeah, so I'm testing. I think maybe today I slided, because you slide this thing to make it extra hot. So I think I did that today to like see how hot can you actually get the little pizza compartment if you redirect all the heat to there. And it, the craziness of December, I am guessing the first thing we're going to cook in there is like a ready-made pizza, frozen pizza. But at some point, we will make some proper pizza with homemade dough and everything.
Sounds great.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that wraps it up for this week, doesn't it?
That does wrap it up. And if you're ever in Oslo and, the power goes out, you know where to go.
You know where you can go and eat all the ready-made food that's now thawing because there's no power for the freezer.
Exactly. And if you have some, dried beans or something in storage, you can bring those over, and I will trade you some cooking time on my wood stove for some food.
Sounds good. Well then, have a nice rest of your week, and talk to you next week.
And vote, comment, and all of that on Product House.